Renaud Camus, the man who coined the term Great Replacement, a French philosopher, has been banned from entering the UK to give a speech. I guess this is what Keir Starmer means when he states Britain has a proud tradition of free speech. Remember, for the modern liberal, free speech is basically only what they agree with and the quote correct opinions. But if using the term Great Replacement is enough to ban a philosopher from entering the country to speak, while of course we have thousands of undocumented migrants flooding across the border every single week, what exactly are we supposed to use to refer to what's happening to major Western nations? Now, these are figures from Grok, that's X's AI system, and it predicts that Sweden is going to be white minority by only 10 years, the UK, France and Germany by 30, and Spain and Italy by 50. So it's quite clear something is happening, and if replacement is politically incorrect language, what are we supposed to call this? Natural evolution? If that's the case, why hasn't this happened before? A wonder of the progressive system, maybe? Well, if that's the case, why is everything regressing around the Western world? Is this maybe by popular demand? If that's the case, why are most people against it? Now, if you watch the channel regularly, you'll know that I think this is down to a combination of the wants of money power mixed with leftist liberal ideology. In essence, that's the power structure of the age known as globalism. Now, you might think this banning is bad news for the globalist system. It's essentially exposing that it manufactures consent and manipulates the conversation, drawing the boundaries where it likes. Yet I'd say this is more in the favour of the liberal regime, and it's because they can pump out headlines such as this. This is a month before Camus was banned from speaking, and it's probably articles like this that influence the government. Now remember, institutions like the BBC won't say things like this out loud, but they are liberal left coded and they will sympathise with these opinions. So when they read author of slogan cited by white supremacist murderers invited to UK by far-right party, immediately it plays into the leftist liberal mythology that anybody who mentions Great Replacement and by extension mass migration is a potential terrorist murderer. And this is a theme I speak a lot about on this channel. Dissenting opinions to the globalist liberal system are often intertwined with all manner of hatred and pathologies which thereby scare the normies away from thinking differently. And anyone from any political persuasion can do this. This headline references two psychos in America who went and shot people after referencing the Great Replacement. I mean, I could find a picture of Keir Starmer where he looks particularly robotic and then say, UK leader aligns himself with ideology that led to the deaths of 100 million people, the psycho. Now, this is just a hyperbolic way of saying that Keir Starmer has described himself as a socialist. However, I don't have any political or cultural power. There are systems out there with total media apparatus to manipulate public opinion. And this is exactly what they do with the key issues of our age. Mass migration and multiculturalism. Now, I don't know if Renaud Camus is extreme or not, but that's not really the point. The point is the powers that be can align him with beliefs and people that are. And this is why I'm often at pains to say there are such strong and ethical and important arguments to be made against the mass importation of people from the third world into Europe. I mean, we're talking about the very existence of our civilization here, what our ancestors spent centuries building and striving for, blood, sweat and tears, to give to us. But if this most reasonable and important cause can be manipulated and then aligned with crazy people who are full of anger and bile and just hate other groups, then it will just lead to trouble and a very important cultural movement being chewed up and spat out by the liberal regime. I see many people say, even in the comments here, that it's time to get angry. If you want to do that, I'm not the channel for you. It's just going to backfire times 10. And even saying that will get you called things like a Fed, or yesterday someone came onto my Substack to say, keep sucking Jew. You can imagine what the end of that sentence is. Now, I imagine he was saying that because I'm a Christian, and I had a little look at his profile and it was just full of anger and hatred and yelling at people and bile, and I thought, who's really going to read this guy's comments and think, this seems like a reasonable person, I'd like to hear his arguments on certain things. Now, of course, I'm not saying that there aren't people who might be pagans or Nietzscheans or secular or spiritualists who could make rational arguments against a Christian position. The point is that very often these points are dominated by the more crazy and militant. And when this happens, whether it's to Christians or pagans or whether it's on the issue of mass migration, it's a disaster because the rationality of the points therein get manipulated by leftists who just want to exploit the situation by focusing on the crazies. And then, as I say, the normies get scared and think, well, I was on board with this until this guy started foaming at the mouth and calling me a cuck and so on. And then they think, oh, I can see why this is all called radical now. But in reality, it's not really radical at all. As I've shown before, the Dalai Lama himself has said that Europe should really belong to the Europeans. And that's just like saying Africa belongs to the Africans or China to the Chinese. Doesn't mean you hate anybody. You can have small amounts of migration. You can have cultural and economic exchange. You can have tourism. That seems far more rational to me in the interests of maintaining a healthy and stable national and world order. In fact, when you understand it this way, the real extreme and radical thing is enforcing millions of people from the third world into Europe. But in many ways, I'm speaking into the wind. The world will do as the world does. It's why I believe that the real sanctuary is in the spirit and in spiritual rebirth that will lead us into a better tomorrow. If you're interested in that, do check out the new channel on that down below. If you want to connect with me, do join the Substack for exclusive content. And on top of that, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments and do consider subscribing to the channel if you're new.